We're going to be discussing sowing tomato seeds. If you're only going to grow 1 or 2 tomato plants, it's probably best just to go to your local nursery or hardware store and buy 1 or 2 seedlings. But a lot of people like to sow their own seed, either because they are special varieties that you can only obtain from seed, or because you've collected your seed. So here we have a packet of tomato seed, and as you can see, these are pretty small seeds, really small. So you need a fairly good, fine seed bed in which to sow them and grow your plants. What kind of soil should you put in your seed bed? If you've got good soil that's already small and fine and loose, you can use that. I have here also some potting mix. Now this potting mix might look like it's okay, but it's really not, because if you look closely you'll see there's a lot of undecomposed bits of stem and branches, and that's not really good material in which to sow seed. So you need to mix that with something else. So what I do is I take my soil, which is a little heavy in clay, and I take 2 parts of my soil and 1 part of this potting mix, mix it well together, water it so that it's nice and damp, and then use that. So you can use any kind of small container. I've decided to use an egg carton because it's quite convenient. So I have down here my mixture of soil and potting mix, which is nicely damp, and I'm going to put this in the egg carton and gently tap it down. So here we have my egg cartons with the soil in it, and lightly tap it down. If it's not damp, you can wet it a little bit. I have a spray here where you can actually spray water on the soil in order to make sure that it's nice and damp. Now to plant the seeds. In the egg carton, where I've got 12 little containers, I'm actually going to put 1 seed in each cell. Now my fingers are not all that good, so I'm using a pair of tweezers, and I'm going to put 1 seed in each cell, and we'll slowly work our way down, putting 1 seed in each cell. There, we've got 1 seed in each cell. And what about this one? Well, the other way is you could put it in your hand and just gently sprinkle the seeds over the thing. You're going to end. So here are 2 ways of doing it. Once you've spread that, you need to cover it again with more of the same soil. Now it should not be too deep because this seed is fairly small. So again, get some of the soil and cover it over. You want a depth of about 1/4 of an inch, so that, and then tap it down gently so that the soil makes good contact with the seed. And you do the same with the other side. and lightly tap it down so that everything is now covered and the seed is now ready to go. Now it's very important that you keep your soil damp and moist. Don't use a hose pipe for watering it, because you could in fact wash your seedlings away. A spray bottle with ordinary water is probably the best thing to do. You may need to water it twice a day, in the morning and in midday and the afternoon, especially if you're keeping it outside, because the top tends to dry out first. And if the seed starts to germinate and then the soil dries out, it will just die and will not grow. So that is an important consideration. Where you keep this, I think outside is probably the best, in the shade, so it does not dry out too quickly, but just monitor it and make sure that you water it regularly. Okay, well here we are about 3 weeks later now, and I want you to see the results that we have. What I forgot to mention last time was, after sowing, you need to put in a little peg with the date and especially the variety, especially if you are doing more than one variety, so you don't make a mistake and plant the wrong one. So here we are. This one here is not doing so well. I think I let it dry out a little bit too much, so the seedlings are somewhat weak. But this one is looking really good. There are a lot of seedlings here. It's still too early to transplant. We have to wait about another 2 weeks until they reach a height of 4 to 6 inches. That is the ideal time for planting. So this we will keep, and in a few weeks' time we'll have enough seedlings to transplant.